He's supposed to be this button-down moderate, this economic genius, this Oxford economist. He really knows what he's doing. Nobody knows more about economics than Mark Carney. Well, let's see. Federal budget projected to soar to $92 billion this year. Unfair to pass these burdens on, CD Howe Institute says. So before we go into that, let's just take a look at previous deficits actually under Trudeau. So actually, if we go back to the Harper years, the conservative years, you can see much more modest deficits when they occurred. So you can see actually in 2005, 2006, 13 billion surplus. 2006, 2007, 13 surplus, 9 surplus. You see the economic crash, 2008, 2009. You had a modest 5.8 billion deficit, modest by today's standards. 2009-10, 55 billion deficit. Again, the financial crash, very modest considering what was to come. 2010-11, 33. And you can see that in the years after, under the conservative government, the deficit coming down, them being responsible, and then actually ending up with a surplus in the last year, 1.9, a modest surplus. So what happens with Trudeau? You get a modest deficit, 2015-16, 1 billion. Go straight up to 17, 19, 14, 39, 327 billion, 2020, 21. Yes, I know. We all know what was happening that year, but we didn't have to do it. Like Sweden didn't go in freaking insane. We didn't have to double our national debt. 2021, 22, 90 billion. 22, 23, 25.7 deficit before net actuarial losses. 23, 24, 61.9, which was above where it was supposed to be. So just reckless spending, obviously, right? Carney, the button-down moderate, 92 billion. Just 92 billion now, because crisis or something. There's that button-down moderate, that economic genius. Only 92 billion. By the way, that's double what it was projected to be 4 months ago. 4 months ago. You wonder why we're not getting a budget? This is why. This is why we're not getting a budget. Because it's out of control. The Carney government is poised to post a massive deficit of more than 92 billion during this fiscal year. A new report from a well-respected financial think tank projects almost double what was forecast just a few months ago by a nonpartisan arm of the government. The report from CD Howe Institute also forecasts deficits of more than 77 billion a year over the next 4 years. Also, huge increases over what had been expected. Trudeau doubled the national debt, right, in his time. But you go back, I mean, his deficits were actually fairly moderate compared to Mark Carney's most years, right? I mean, 92 billion. Okay, he says there's a crisis. What is it? We're not in pandemic crisis mode. We're not in, global economic collapse crisis mode. Not like, 2008. It's not like 2020 right now. This is just insane. It's widely accepted that Canada's economy is at a critical crossroads, the CD Howe economists write. So are Canada's finances. Beyond the economic drag of high deficits, and rising debt, it is unfair to pass these burdens on to the current, young, and future generations. If anybody's wondering why you've got 20-plus hour waits at the emergency rooms now, I've said this a million times on this channel. I'll keep saying it. Right now, before these new deficits turn into interest on the debt, right now, before Carney's deficits, right, we're spending more servicing the interest on the national debt in Canada than is given out in transfer payments for healthcare to the provinces by the government. Okay, that's not sustainable. Not when you've got universal health care. That's crazy. Mark Carney, the button-down moderate, the economic genius, is making this worse. Not just a little bit, a lot. Worse than Justin Trudeau. I have been saying all along, ever since he first decided to parachute back into Canada right before the last election, that Carney was going to be Trudeau, but Trudeau on steroids. It's going to be Turbo Trudeau. Mark Carney had been advising Justin Trudeau since 2020. All right. You might as well just consider Trudeau to be his protege. He was doing what Mark Carney said. Now Mark Carney's got the reins himself. I said it was going to be Turbo Trudeau, and it looks like, very sadly, I was correct. But the most recent federal budget was now well over a year ago. The government took the highly unusual step this year of waiting until the fall to release its annual budget, more than halfway through the fiscal year. Yes, they're doing that to hide it because they know at least some Canadians, the Canadians that are paying attention and aren't totally brainwashed at this point, are going to go, hold on a second, this is bad. This is Turbo Trudeau. The CD Howe report criticizes the government's decision to wait until the fiscal year is more than half over before releasing its budget. Quote, delaying a budget until the fiscal year is more than half over is never good, but Canada's current high spending trajectory makes this delay especially bad. Geez, it's almost like this whole thing could get completely out of hand before anybody even realizes what's going on, which is exactly what's going to happen by design. The report also criticizes the government's plan to separate its operating and capital spending. We've talked about this on the channel before. This childish sleight of hand that this trick that Mark Carney is trying to use to separating the budget into two different parts. This is a new thing he wants to do. So the operating budget, the money just to keep the government going, and then the investments, he's calling it, the investments. So this is the money, the subsidies he's going to be handing over to a bunch of green boondoggles, like the $50 billion that Trudeau gave for EV plants, EV battery plants, cricket farms, all kinds of different things that came to nothing, that just came to tears. So he wants to separate these massive wastes of money from the budget and claim that that's not the budget. Mark Carney did not overestimate the sophistication of the Canadian voter, and he was correct not to because it worked. I mean, that's the sad truth. Elbows up worked. This lowest common denominator political strategy worked. You know, the sophisticated, discerning voters, when they were told by Rosemary Barton's teleprompter to put their elbows up and do their chicken dance in front of the TV in their living room, they did it. Anyway, it's all crazy. This is just not going to end well. Not going to end well. This globalist hobgoblin. You know what? He was asked about where he's going to get all the money to pay for all the insane stuff. What did he say? Let's see.
Thank you. My other question, I'll try and be fast, is
that's question 4.
About the commitment to hundreds of billions of dollars cumulatively you've made today. The parliamentary budget officer told us that implies high deficits unless you either raise taxes or cut major projects, social spending. So do you agree with him? And if so, how high? And
why is he rolling his eyes there?
We'll grow this economy. We'll grow this economy. We'll balance our operational budget in 3 years. That's our commitment. But we will also invest in this country, including in our defense industry. Thank you. This country being Canada, not.
Oh, well, he's got to grow the economy, so no worries, I guess. He just says that. He just said he's going to grow the economy. So I guess that's enough. That's enough for everybody. I want to watch that again. Hold on one second.
About the commitment to hundreds of billions of dollars cumulatively you've made today. The parliamentary budget officer told us that implies high deficits unless you either raise taxes or cut major projects, social spending. So do you agree with him? And if so...
Why is he rolling his eyes there? The parliamentary budget officer. Like, he's not from some far right-wing blog, right? It's a parliamentary budget officer. Why is he rolling his eyes there? It's just this imperiousness, this arrogance, this narcissism from this man. He's the only one who understands, right? Everybody's crazy. He rolls his eyes. What Why is he rolling his eyes again? Let's see. People are concerned because of a $92 billion deficit, right? The national debt has been doubled over the last 10 years. Why is he rolling his eyes? Why is he doing that? I personally think this is totally inappropriate. What do you think?
How high a net debt to GDP ratio are you willing to run?
Well, not to worry though. He's gonna explain everything right now.
We will grow this economy. We'll grow this economy. We'll balance our operational budget. And
nothing to worry about. He's going to grow the economy because he just says that, and he's going to balance the operational budget. This is the sleight of hand we've been talking about. Okay, but what about the rest of the spending? What about because that's actually part of the deficit too. That's actually real money that we don't have. That's going to have to be borrowed, printed, whatever. Right? That's real money that Canada doesn't have, and we're going to have to pay interest on that money to get the money. Interest we can't afford to pay right now when we're paying $1 billion a month already. It's almost hard to believe that this man became prime minister, and he stands in front of the press and says this. It would be hard to believe, actually, if he didn't have such a pliant press, actually, to deal with, who's not really going to call him out. It's all going to be very soft touch. Very soft touch. It's a very sympathetic press because, well, I mean, he's going to give them money, so why shouldn't they be sympathetic, I guess? Anyway, that's all I'm going to say about that. Please like, share, and subscribe. Subscribing really helps me out. I thank you for that. I will see you next time.